The ship was called the Infinite Horizon, and it moved through space like a silver whale swimming through an ocean of stars. It was a beautiful ship, built by the Volreni people, and it carried a crew of 847 souls. 846 of them were Volreni. One of them was Human. Park. Dohun was that human. He had been on the ship for 11 months now. 11 months of working in the engine room. 11 months of eating alone in his small quarters. 11 months of keeping his head down and his mouth shut. The Volreni were tall beings, almost 7 feet in height. Their skin was the color of silver mixed with blue, like moonlight on water. Their eyes were large and dark, like polished black stones. They moved with a grace that made Dohun feel clumsy and heavy. When they spoke, their voices were soft and musical, like wind moving through bells. They were beautiful, all of them, and they were curious about their human crew member. Dohun could feel their eyes on him whenever he walked through the ship. He could hear their whispers when they thought he was too far away to notice. "Humans have such good hearing," they would say. "And look how warm his skin is. And see how he needs to sleep every single night. How strange. How fascinating." Many of them tried to be friendly. A young Volreni named Hana would often stop by the engine room to ask if he needed help. An older one named Taiho would invite him to join the crew for evening meals. A scientist named Jiwoo would ask him questions about Earth and human culture. Dohun was polite to all of them. He would smile and nod and say thank you. But he always said no. No, he did not need help. No, he would eat in his quarters tonight. No, he did not want to talk about Earth. After a while, most of the crew stopped trying. They decided that the human was simply shy, or perhaps unfriendly. They left him alone, which was exactly what Dohun wanted. But there was one person on the ship who did not stop trying. One person who watched him with those dark Volreni eyes and refused to give up. Captain Yura. She was the commander of the Infinite Horizon, and she was unlike any captain Dohun had ever known. Human captains kept their distance from the crew. They gave orders from the bridge and stayed in their private quarters. They believed that a captain should be respected. Even feared. Captain Yura was different. She walked through every part of her ship every single day. She knew the names of all 847 crew members. She remembered their birthdays. She asked about their families, their hobbies, their dreams. When someone was sick, she visited them in the medical bay. When someone was sad, she sat with them until they felt better. The crew loved her. They would do anything for her. And she, in turn, would do anything for them. She had tried many times to reach out to Dohun. She would stop by the engine room and ask how he was doing. She would invite him to have tea with her in her private quarters. She would ask him to join the senior officers for strategy meetings, even though his rank did not require his presence. Every time, Dohun found a reason to say no. He was busy with repairs. He was tired and needed sleep. He had reports to write. The excuses were getting weaker and weaker, and he knew that she could see through them. Tonight, Captain Yura stood on the observation deck and looked out at the stars. The ship was passing through a nebula, and the colors outside the window were pink and gold and purple. It was beautiful, but she was not really seeing it. Her mind was on the human engineer. Why did he avoid her? What had she done wrong? She had consulted her cultural advisors. She had read every file about human behavior that she could find. She had even sent a private message to a Volreni diplomat who had worked with humans for many years. None of them could explain it. Humans were emotional creatures, they told her. They formed connections quickly and easily. They liked to talk, to share, to bond with others. A human who isolated himself so completely was unusual. Something must be wrong. Captain Yura made a decision. She had been patient for 11 months. She had given Dawn space and time. But patience had its limits, and hers had finally been reached. She left the observation deck and walked through the ship with purpose. Her silver robes flowed behind her as she moved. Crew members stepped aside when they saw her coming, their heads bowing in respect. She found him in the secondary engine room, alone as always. He was on his knees, working on a power coupling. His human hands moved with skill and precision. There was grease on his fingers and sweat on his forehead. For a moment, she simply watched him. There was something about him that she could not explain. Something that pulled at her, like gravity pulling a moon toward a planet. She had felt it since the first day he came aboard, and it had only grown stronger with time. She did not understand it. Varney did not feel things so quickly. Their emotions were slow and steady, like deep rivers. They did not get pulled toward strangers. They did not think about someone constantly, wondering what they were doing, wondering why they kept their distance. But Yura thought about Dohan. She thought about him more than she wanted to admit. She stepped forward, and her reflection appeared in the metal panel in front of him. She saw his body go stiff. She saw his hands stop moving. He knew she was there. Good, she thought. Tonight, there would be no more running. Tonight, she would have answers. She took a deep breath and spoke his name. The human slowly turned to face her, and in his eyes she saw something that surprised her. It was not anger. It was not dislike. It was something else entirely. Something that looked almost like pain. And in that moment, Captain Yura realized that whatever was happening between them was far more complicated than she had imagined. Dohan stood up slowly. His heart was beating fast inside his chest, the way it always did when Captain Yura was near. He wiped his hands on a cloth and tried to keep his face calm. He had become very good at hiding what he felt. 11 months of practice had made him an expert. Captain Yura stood in the doorway of the engine room. The light behind her made her silver blue skin glow. Her dark eyes were fixed on him, and there was no softness in them tonight. She looked determined. She looked like someone who had come to get answers and would not leave. Without them, Dohan felt a small part of himself break. He had known this moment would come. He had just hoped he would have more time. "Lieutenant Park," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "Captain." He kept his own voice steady. "Is there something wrong with the ship? A malfunction I should look at?" "There is no malfunction." She stepped into the room. The door closed behind her with a soft sound. They were alone now, just the two of them in this small space filled with machines and wires and the soft hum of power flowing through metal. "Then how can I help you, Captain?" She walked toward him. Each step was slow and careful, like a hunter approaching something wild and easily frightened. She stopped when she was only a few feet away from him. He could smell her now, a scent like flowers that grew on her home world, sweet and strange and wonderful. "You can help me by telling me the truth," she said. "I am tired of guessing. I am tired of wondering. I need to understand, Lieutenant. Why do you avoid me?" The question hung in the air between them. Dohan felt his throat go tight. "I do not know what you mean, Captain. I perform my duties. I follow orders. I have not. Do not lie to me." Her voice was sharper now. "Every time I enter a room, you find a reason to leave. Every time I invite you to join the crew, you make an excuse. Every time I try to speak with you alone, you look at me like I'm something that causes you pain." She took another step closer. He could see the hurt in her eyes now, hidden beneath the frustration. "Have I offended you in some way? Have I done something wrong? Is there some human custom I have broken? My advisors can find nothing. I have searched every document about your people, and I cannot find an answer. So I am asking you directly, Dohan. What have I done to make you treat me this way?" He closed his eyes. His hands were shaking. He pressed them against his sides to make them stop. "You have done nothing wrong, Captain. Then why do you run from me? I do not run from you. You are running right now. She reached out and touched his arm. Her fingers were cool against his warm human skin. The touch sent a shock through his body, like electricity jumping through water. Your whole body is trying to escape. I can see it. I can feel it. You are afraid of me, Lieutenant. Why? He opened his eyes and looked at her. She was so close now. Close enough that he could count the tiny silver patterns on her skin. Close enough that he could see his own reflection in her dark eyes. Close enough that if he leaned forward just a little, he could know. He stopped that thought before it could finish. I am not afraid of you, he said quietly. Then what is it? Please. Her voice softened. The anger faded, and what remained was something that sounded almost like sadness. I do not understand humans well. I have tried to learn, but your kind is so different from mine. Help me understand. Tell me what I need to do to make things right between us. Do-hun felt something crack inside him. A wall he had built over many months. A wall meant to keep everything locked away, where it could not hurt him or anyone else. You do not understand, he said. You cannot understand. Then explain it to me. Captain, please. Just let me do my work. Let me finish my time on this ship. In 3 more months, my contract will end, and I will transfer somewhere else. You will never have to deal with me again. Her hand tightened on his arm. I do not want you to transfer somewhere else. Those words hit him like a blow to the chest. He stared at her, not trusting what he had heard. What? I want you to stay. She was looking at him with those deep dark eyes, and there was something in them that he had seen before. Something he recognized because he felt it too. I do not know why. I cannot explain it. But the thought of you leaving this ship makes my chest ache in a way I have never felt before. Do-hun's breath caught in his throat. This was wrong. This was everything he had been afraid of. She was not supposed to feel this way. She was supposed to be the cold, distant captain. She was supposed to let him hide in his engine room until he could escape to another ship, another life, somewhere far away from her. Captain, he whispered, you need to stop. Stop what? Stop looking at me like that. Stop standing so close. Stop making me feel things I cannot feel. She tilted her head, the way the Volrain did when they were confused. What do you feel? He laughed. It was a broken sound, filled with months of loneliness and longing. He pulled his arm away from her and stepped back until his shoulders hit the wall. I do not avoid you because I find you repulsive, Captain, he said. The words came out rough and raw, torn from somewhere deep inside him. I do not avoid you because I am afraid of you or because you have done something wrong. Then why? He looked at her, this beautiful silver being who had turned his entire world upside down without even trying. I avoid you because I find you beautiful, he said. More beautiful than anything I have ever seen in my entire life. And where I come from, Captain Yura, that is the most dangerous thing in the universe. The engine room fell silent. Even the machines seemed to hold their breath. Captain Yura stood perfectly still, her dark eyes wide, her lips slightly parted, and Do-hun knew that everything was about to change. Captain Yura did not speak for a long time. She stood in the middle of the engine room, her silver robe still as stone, her dark eyes never leaving Do-hun's face. The seconds stretched into minutes, and still she said nothing. Do-hun wished he could take back his words. He wished he could reach into the air and grab them and stuff them back into his mouth. But it was too late. The truth was out, floating between them like smoke from a fire that could no longer be hidden. Finally, Yura spoke. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. Beautiful, she repeated. You think I am beautiful? Do-hun nodded. He could not trust his voice. And this is dangerous? On your world, finding someone beautiful is dangerous? Another nod. The captain moved to a metal crate near the wall and sat down on it. Her movements were slow and careful, like she was trying to process something very complicated. She looked up at him and patted the space beside her. "Sit with me," she said, "and explain. I want to understand." Doan did not want to sit. He wanted to run out of this room and hide in his quarters and never come out again. But there was something in her eyes that stopped him, a genuine desire to know, a willingness to listen. He sat down beside her, leaving a careful distance between them. "Humans are not like Volrani," he began. His voice was quiet, tired. "We feel things too quickly, too strongly. When we love, we do not love a little. We love with everything we have, our entire hearts, our entire souls. It is like a fire that burns inside us, and once it starts, we cannot stop it." Yura tilted her head. "This does not sound dangerous. It sounds passionate." "Passion is dangerous, Captain." Doan looked down at his hands. They were rough hands, scarred from years of work. Human hands. Hands that had done things he tried very hard to forget. When humans first traveled to the stars, when we first met other species, do you know what the Galactic Council said about us? I have read some reports. Then, they called us emotionally unstable. They said our feelings made us unpredictable. They warned other species to be careful around us because we form attachments too fast, too deep. Because when we love something, we will do anything to protect it. Anything at all. He finally looked at her. Her face was calm, patient, waiting. "They were not wrong," he said. "Yura considered this. The Volrani are not like this. Our emotions are slower. It takes us many years to form deep connections. We do not understand how humans can love someone after knowing them for only a short time. Neither do we, sometimes." Dohan laughed, but there was no happiness in the sound. "But we do it anyway. We cannot help it. It is how we are built. You said finding me beautiful is dangerous. Explain this to me. I still do not see the danger." Doan was quiet for a moment. He knew he had to tell her the rest. He had to make her understand why he had kept his distance, why he had built walls around himself, why he had tried so hard to feel nothing. "I had a wife once," he said finally. "Her name was Minji." Yura went very still. "We met when we were both young. She was kind and funny, and she made me feel like I was the only person in the universe. I loved her more than I have ever loved anything. When I was near her, my heart would beat so fast I could barely breathe. When she smiled at me, the whole galaxy seemed brighter." He paused. The memories were painful, like touching an old wound that had never fully healed. "We lived on a colony ship together, a small transport vessel that was bringing settlers to a new planet. One night, there was an accident, a failure in the life support system. The ship began to break apart. Yura reached out and placed her hand over his. She did not say anything. She just let him know that she was there. I was in the engine room when it happened. I tried to fix it. I worked as fast as I could, but I was not fast enough. The section where Minji was sleeping, it broke away from the ship. It drifted into space." His voice cracked. He had not talked about this in years. He had locked it away in a dark corner of his mind where it could not hurt him. But now it was all coming out, and he could not stop it. I called for help. I screamed into the radio. A rescue shuttle was nearby, but they were slow. Too slow. Some of the crew members had delayed them, arguing about procedures and protocols. By the time they reached her section, she was already gone. The cold of space had taken her. Tears were falling down his face now. He did not bother to wipe them away. When I found out what had happened, when I learned that the rescue team had been delayed because some men wanted to follow rules instead of saving lives, something inside me broke. I found those men, Captain. I found them, and I hurt them. Badly. I nearly killed them with my bare hands. Yura's grip on his hand tightened, but she did not pull away. I was discharged from the human fleet after that. They said I was emotionally compromised. Too dangerous to serve. They were right. He looked at her with red eyes. Do you understand now, Captain? Do you see why I keep my distance? Why I cannot let myself feel anything for you? Tell me. Because every time I look at you, I feel something I swore I would never feel again. And I know that if I let myself love you, if I let that fire start burning inside me again, I will become a monster. If anyone ever hurt you, I would not just hurt them back. I would destroy them. I would burn entire worlds to ash. I would start wars. I would become everything the galaxy already thinks humans are. He pulled his hand away from hers and stood up. I am trying to protect you, Captain. I am trying to protect everyone on this ship. The best thing I can do is stay away from you. The best thing I can do is feel nothing. He walked toward the door. That is why I avoid you, he said without turning around. Not because I hate you, because I could love you. And my love is not gentle. My love is a weapon, and I do not want anyone else to die because of it. He reached for the door panel. Behind him, he heard Yura stand up. Dawn, she said. Wait, he stopped. He could not move. Turn around, she said. Please, look at me. Slowly he turned to face her. She was standing in the middle of the room, her silver skin glowing in the soft light. And in her dark eyes, he saw something that made his heart stop. She was not afraid of him. She was not disgusted by what he had told her. She was looking at him like he was the most important thing in the universe. Stay, she said softly. Please, I have something to tell you too. Dawn stood frozen by the door. His hand was still raised toward the panel, but he could not make himself touch it. He could not make himself leave. Not when she was looking at him like that. Not when she had said please. Captain Yura walked toward him slowly. Her footsteps made no sound on the metal floor. She moved like water, like starlight, like something from a dream he had been trying to forget for 11 long months. She stopped in front of him, close enough that he could feel the coolness that came from her skin. Velrani were not warm like humans. Their blood ran cold, and their bodies held the chill of their home world, a planet far from its sun where ice covered everything. You have told me your truth, she said. Now I will tell you mine. Dawn lowered his hand. He did not speak. He was afraid that if he opened his mouth, he would beg her to stop. He would beg her to let him go. Because whatever she was about to say, he knew it would break down the last walls he had built around his heart. Among my people, Yura began, we have a word. It is called Velith. There is no perfect translation in your human language. The closest meaning would be soul pull, or perhaps gravity of the spirit. She reached up and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his cheek, but the touch sent warmth spreading through his entire body. He closed his eyes. Velith is what happens when one Velrani soul is pulled toward another, she continued. It is rare, very rare. Most Velrani never experience it in their entire lives. Those who do say it feels like a force of nature, like being caught in the pull of a planet. You cannot escape it. You cannot fight it. You can only surrender to it. Her thumb traced the line of his jaw. He was shaking now, and he did not know how to stop. The first time I saw you, Dawn, I felt something I had never felt before. A pull, a gravity. Something in my chest reached out toward you, and I could not understand why. I told myself it was curiosity. Humans were new to me. I had never worked so closely with one before. I thought I was simply interested in your strange ways. She moved closer. Her forehead was almost touching his now. but it did not go away. Day after day, month after month, the pull grew stronger. I found myself thinking about you constantly, wondering what you were doing, wondering why you avoided me, wondering what I had done to push you away. It hurt, Dawn. Every time you walked out of a room when I entered, every time you made an excuse to avoid me, it hurt in a way I cannot describe. She paused. Her voice was softer now, almost fragile. I spoke to the elders of my people. I asked them what was wrong with me. Why could I not stop thinking about this human? Why did my chest ache when he was not near? They listened to me, and when I finished, they were silent for a very long time. Her dark eyes met his. They told me I was experiencing Velith. They told me I was experiencing Velith. They told me that my soul had found something it wanted, something it needed, and that fighting it would only bring me pain. They told me that the universe does not make mistakes. If my spirit was pulled toward you, there was a reason for it. Dawn opened his eyes. He looked at her, this beautiful silver captain who commanded a ship of almost 1,000 souls. This powerful woman who could have anyone she wanted. And she was standing here in a small engine room, telling him that her soul was connected to his. "Captain," he whispered. "Yura, you do not know what you are saying. I know exactly what I am saying. I told you what I am, what I have done, what I am capable of. Yes, you did." She did not step back. She did not look away. "You told me that you loved your wife so much that when she died, you lost yourself in grief. You told me that your love was so strong it turned into something destructive. You told me that you are afraid to love again because you do not want to hurt anyone else." Her hands moved to his shoulders. She held him firmly, refusing to let him pull away. "But I heard something different, though. I heard a man who loved with his entire being. I heard a man who would do anything, face anything, destroy anything to protect the person he cared about. I heard a man whose heart is so big that it terrifies him." "That is not a good thing," he said. His voice was rough with emotion. "That is exactly what makes me dangerous." "No," she shook her head slowly. "That is what makes you human. And perhaps that is exactly what makes humans special." She pulled him closer until their foreheads touched. It was a Velrani gesture, he knew. A sign of deep connection, of trust, of love. "Your people feel things that we cannot," she said softly. "You burn with a fire that seems impossible to us. The rest of the galaxy looks at this fire and sees destruction. They see danger. They see something to be feared." Her eyes closed. "But I see something else, Dohan. I see light. I see warmth. I see something beautiful and precious and rare. Your capacity to love is not a weakness. It is a gift. The greatest gift the universe ever gave your species." He was crying again. He could feel the tears rolling down his face, hot and wet, so different from the cool touch of her skin. "I do not know how to love gently," he admitted. "I have tried. I have spent years trying to lock my heart away. But I cannot do it. When I feel something, I feel it completely. There is no middle ground. Then do not look for a middle ground." She opened her eyes. They were shining in the dim light. "Love the way humans love. With all of your heart. With all of your fire. With all of that beautiful, terrifying intensity that makes your kind unlike any other in the galaxy. And if I hurt you, if something happens to you because of me, then I will know that I was loved by someone who would have given anything to protect me. I will know that my life mattered to someone more than anything else. I will know that I was not alone." She pulled back slightly and looked at him. There was a small smile on her silver lips. "I am not a fragile creature, Dawn. I have commanded this ship for 20 years. I have faced pirates and wars and disasters. I have lost crew members and friends and family. I am strong enough to survive anything the universe throws at me. Her smile grew warmer. And I am strong enough to survive being loved by you, if you will let me. The walls around Dohan's heart finally crumbled. They fell away like dust in the wind, and what remained was something raw and real and utterly terrifying. Hope. He reached up and touched her face, his warm human fingers against her cool velvety skin. Fire and ice, passion and patience. Two souls from opposite ends of the universe, pulled together by something neither of them fully understood. I am scared, he admitted. I know. She leaned into his touch. So am I, but I would rather be scared with you than safe without you. In that moment, standing in the small engine room of the infinite horizon, surrounded by machines and wires and the soft hum of power, Park Dohan made a decision. He had spent years running from his own heart. He had spent years hiding from the fire inside him. He had spent years convinced that his capacity to love was a curse. But maybe, just maybe, he had been wrong. Maybe his love was not a weapon. Maybe it was a gift. And maybe this silver captain, with the dark eyes and the gentle soul, was exactly the person who was meant to receive it. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Yura smiled, and it was like watching a star being born. Okay, she repeated. And everything changed. The crew of the Infinite Horizon noticed the change within 3 days. It started small. Lieutenant Park Dohan began appearing in the common areas of the ship. He sat in the dining hall during meal times instead of hiding in his quarters. He nodded to crew members as he passed them in the corridors. He even smiled once or twice, which shocked everyone who saw it. But the biggest change was where he sat during meals. On the 4th day after that night in the engine room, Dohan walked into the dining hall with his food tray. The room was full of Vilverni crew members eating and talking, their soft musical voices filling the air. Everyone expected him to find a corner and sit alone, as he always did. Instead, he walked straight to the captain's table. Captain Yura looked up as he approached. There was a warmth in her dark eyes that had not been there before. She gestured to the empty seat beside her, and Dohan sat down. The entire dining hall went quiet. 800 pairs of Varani eyes stared at the human engineers sitting next to their captain. Some of them whispered to each other. Others simply looked confused. A few smiled, as if they had expected this all along. Yura did not explain. She simply continued eating, occasionally turning to speak quietly with Dohan. He responded in equally quiet tones, and once, just once, he laughed at something she said. The sound of human laughter rang through the dining hall like a bell. It was such a strange, unexpected sound that several crew members nearly dropped their utensils. After that, things moved quickly. Dohan began attending senior officer meetings, sitting in the corner and offering suggestions when asked. His ideas were practical and creative, and the other officers learned to respect his input. The young Velrani named Hana, who had tried so many times to befriend him, finally succeeded. She and Dohan could often be found in the engine room together, working on projects and talking about their homes. The scientist named Jiwoo got his wish as well. Dohan agreed to sit for interviews about Earth and human culture. The recordings were shared throughout the ship, and the crew became fascinated by stories of blue oceans and green forests and cities made of glass and steel. They learned about human music and human art and human food. They learned about the human heart and all its strange, beautiful ways. And through it all, the bond between Dohan and Yura grew stronger. They were careful in public. They were the captain and a junior officer, and there were rules about such things. But everyone on the ship knew. Everyone could see the way they looked at each other. Everyone could feel the warmth between them, like standing near a fire on a cold night. 3 months passed. Then 6. Then 9. Dohan's contract ended, and he did not request a transfer. He signed a new contract and stayed on the infinite horizon. No one was surprised then, in the 11th month of his second year on the ship. Something happened that changed everything once more. The infinite horizon was passing through a region of space known as the contested zone. It was a dangerous area, filled with pirates and raiders and hostile factions who did not respect the peace treaties that governed the rest of the galaxy. The ship had made this journey many times before without trouble. This time was different. They came out of nowhere. 15 enemy vessels, armed to the teeth, surrounding the infinite horizon before anyone could react. Their leader sent a message demanding surrender. He wanted the cargo. He wanted the ship. He wanted the crew as prisoners to sell to the highest bidder. Captain Ura refused. The battle that followed was brutal. The infinite horizon was a strong ship, but 15 against 1 was impossible odds. Within an hour, the engines were damaged, the shields were failing, and the weapons array was offline. Without weapons, they had no chance. An emergency meeting was called. The senior officers gathered on the bridge, their faces grim. The enemy ships were circling like wolves, waiting for the kill. "The weapons array can be repaired," said the chief engineer, a Volreni named Soman. "But someone would have to go outside the ship to do it. The damage is on the outer hull. It would take at least an hour of work in open space." "During a battle?" Another officer shook his head. "That is suicide. The enemy fire would tear them apart." "Then we surrender," someone said quietly. "No." Captain Ura's voice was firm. "I will not give my crew to slavers. We fight until we have no fight left. But Captain, without weapons, I will go." Every head in the room turned toward the voice. Dohan stepped forward. He was still wearing his engineering uniform, still had grease on his hands from working on the damaged systems. His face was calm, but there was something in his eyes. Something that burned. "I know the weapons array better than anyone," he said. "I helped design the repair procedures. I can fix it in 40 minutes, not an hour. I can do this." "Dawn, no." Ura's voice cracked. "The enemy ships will target you the moment you leave the hull. You would not survive. I might." He walked toward her, ignoring the stares of the other officers. "And even if I do not, I will buy enough time. I will fix the weapons, and you will use them. You will save this crew. I cannot ask you to do this." "You are not asking." He reached out and took her hand. He did not care who saw it. He did not care about rules or protocols or what was proper. "I am choosing. This is what humans do, Ura. We protect what we love. We would rather die fighting than live knowing we could have done something and did nothing." Tears were forming in her dark eyes. She gripped his hand so hard it hurt. "This is not the same as before," she whispered. "You are not trying to destroy. You are trying to save. Yes." He smiled at her, and it was the warmest smile anyone on that ship had ever seen. "You taught me that. You showed me that my fire does not have to burn everything down. It can light the way instead." He leaned forward and pressed his forehead to hers. The Volreni gesture of deep love. Around them, the officers watched in silence. "If I come back," Dohan said quietly, "I want to stay with you. Forever. No more contracts. No more temporary arrangements. I want to belong to you and this ship and this crew. I want to make this my home." "When you come back," Ura corrected him. Her voice was fierce now, determined. "When you come back, I will hold you to that promise." He kissed her forehead, turned, and walked out of the room. 43 minutes later. The weapons array came back online. The infinite horizon fired with everything it had. 3 enemy ships were destroyed in the first minute. 5 more fell in the next 10 minutes. The remaining 7 turned and fled, their confidence shattered by a ship they had thought was helpless. The crew cheered. They had won. But Yura did not cheer. She ran to the airlock where they were bringing Dohan back inside. He had been hit by debris. His suit was torn. There was blood, so much blood, bright red human blood spreading across the floor. She fell to her knees beside him. "Dohan," she said. "Dohan, look at me." His eyes opened slowly. They were unfocused at first, but when they found her face, they cleared. He smiled, even through the pain. "Did it work?" he asked. "Yes." She was crying now, her tears falling onto his suit. "You saved us. You saved everyone. Good." He reached up with a shaking hand and touched her face. "Then it was worth it. Do not talk like that. You are going to be fine. The medical team is coming. I know." His smile grew weaker, but no less warm. "I am not dying today, Yura. I promise to stay with you forever, remember? A human never breaks a promise to someone they love." She laughed through her tears. It was a broken, beautiful sound. "You are ridiculous," she said. "You are the most ridiculous human I have ever met. And you love me anyway." "Yes." She leaned down and pressed her forehead to his. "I love you anyway. I love you completely. I love you with everything I have." He closed his eyes, still smiling. "See?" he whispered. "Now you understand. Now you know what it feels like to be human." The medical team arrived and carried him away. It took 3 weeks for him to fully recover. 3 weeks of Yura sitting beside his bed, holding his hand, refusing to leave. 3 weeks of the entire crew bringing gifts and messages and well wishes for the human who had saved them all. When Dohan finally walked out of the medical bay, the whole ship was there to greet him. 846 Volrani and 1 human, standing together in the main corridor. They cheered for him. They called his name. They welcomed him home, and standing at the front of the crowd, her silver skin glowing and her dark eyes shining with love, was Captain Yura. Dohan walked toward her. He did not hurry. He took his time, savoring every moment. When he reached her, he did not speak. He simply took her hand and stood beside her, where he belonged. The crew of the Infinite Horizon cheered even louder. And somewhere in the vast, cold universe, a single human heart burned brighter than a star, lighting the way for everyone it touched. This was what it meant to be human. This was what it meant to love. Not destruction, not danger, but warmth, hope, light. And perhaps the galaxy was finally starting to understand.